Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, recently I've been reviewing a lot of Micro Four Thirds cameras and lenses, and I particularly took a look at the Panasonic GH6, which we have here. Now, I've owned the various other GH range of cameras. I've had the GH4 and the GH5. I've sold them. I've now got the GH6, and I've done an initial review of a GH6, and I'll leave a link up here, or is it up here somewhere, to that review. And that was an initial look, because I hadn't had it very long, so I couldn't really make a judgment as to what it was like to handle, and you know how good the image quality was, because I hadn't had it long enough. But I was able to say what I think of a camera overall. Now, today, I'm actually going to go through it in a little bit more depth. Not a great deal of depth, but a little bit more depth, because I've had it longer now and I've had time to use it. And I took it out for an entire day. We went to Gloucester just for a jolly, nothing specific. And I took a lot of photographs, and I took quite a bit of video. So I've been able to actually have a good feel as to how the handling is on this camera. I've got some things that mostly I really liked, but there was one frustrating bit that really annoyed me, to be honest, and I knew it would before I actually took it out, so it didn't surprise me. So let's now quickly go through what I think of this camera from a usability point of view. Now, image quality, great. I had no issues with image quality, be it video or be it stills. It is quite a large and quite a heavy Micro Four Thirds camera, and there will be a lot of people saying, why would you buy a Micro Four Thirds camera of this size, because it's as heavy and sometimes heavier than a lot of full frame cameras? And there's a good point, but what a lot of people are missing is that the lenses are a lot more compact. So I mean, you look at this lens here. This is the Panasonic Leica 12-60. It's an f2.8 to f4, so it's variable aperture lens, but it has image stabilization, autofocus, manual focus and what have you. But look how compact that is. That would be equivalent to a 24 to 120 in full frame terms. And you would never get a lens that compact as such a wide range, focal range. And the lens quality is outstanding. It is really, really good. Micro Four Thirds, there's no issues with printing large prints. Video quality is great. The only thing I find with Micro Four Thirds, but most people would say, is the look is a little bit different to what you would get from full frame. And when I say a little bit different, those of you who have watched many YouTube videos would know where I'm coming from here. For example, f2.8 on Micro Four Thirds, which this lens goes down to, from a look point of view, i.e. what's out of focus, it'd be equivalent to something like an f5.6, maybe an f4, probably an f4 lens on a full frame body. So you're not going to get that lovely creamy bokeh with a Micro Four Thirds lens as you will get on a full frame body. Now this goes down to f4 as you zoom through the range, so that's around about f8 on a full frame body. It's still f4, the amount of light it's letting through to the sensor, but the actual bokeh look would be somewhere in the region of f8. So that's the only downside with Micro Four Thirds, because it's a smaller sensor. It doesn't create that lovely bokeh that you'll get on a full frame body. But if I was doing portraits with this lens and this combination, which you can do quite easily, I wouldn't use this lens. I would use a dedicated, something like the 45mm Olympus lens that I have, and that goes down to f1.8, which is about f3 point something odd on a full frame. So it's still going to get that lovely bokeh, particularly if you've got quite a lot of separation between the person you're photographing or the subject you're photographing and the background. So that isn't an issue to me, so we'll get that one out of the way. Handling is great. Handling it was great. The grip is really good. I didn't feel fatigued or anything, even after a long day of photographing and filming. I didn't have any issues with it. The viewfinder is great. I use the viewfinder quite a bit, and I found that great to use. It was really good. My favourite part of this camera, though, is the monitor design. And when we look at the monitor here, on the back of the camera, it articulates, which is fine. But when I'm taking photographs, I don't like the articulating screen. I prefer the ones that tilt up. But this camera has got the best of both worlds, and I would love to see this design implemented on many other cameras. I know the Panasonic S1H has this design, but this design does tilt upwards, as you just pull it up there like that. So it tilts up, which is great because that's what you have on the traditional, I say traditional, on a lot of cameras, just tilts up. So that's great for me to take photographs with. But if you want to do video and you're filming yourself, you just articulate it and it does turn around. And also the screen doesn't get in the way of the sockets, the mic sockets and the headphone jack on the side here. So, you know, it completely misses the mic jack altogether. So you can plug a microphone in there without the screen getting in the way of a mic jack or vice versa. So that is a great, great design. So that handled really well. I had no problems with that at all. These buttons on the top here were great. I could very quickly, which I did do, I could very quickly adjust the ISO settings, particularly when I went into lower light. One click of a button was awesome. And also the dedicated button for getting to your sound controls. Not what I needed to when I went out to Gloucester, but great in the studio here when you're doing interviews. You can just push this one button and that brings up all of your sound controls. It brings up the sound levels, and you can adjust the sound levels. It's touchscreen, tap onto it, and then you can go in and adjust your sound levels, or you can use the dials, you know, whichever way it suits you. So the handling of this camera is great. I had no issues apart from one area, which I'm going to go into in just a moment. But the video quality is great. I took advantage of the dual image stabilization that this combination provides. And that's the reason why I got this lens with this camera body, because I'm using a Panasonic lens that has got the dual IS. So the image stabilization in the body and the lens combined creates fantastic image stabilization when you're walking, or even if you're just doing a static handheld shot. And I did a lot of walking shots with this, just to play with it, just to see, you know, what it can do. And, you know, we got off the train when we got to Gloucester, and I just filmed us walking down the very long platform to, you know, get out of the railway station, and got some really nice shots walking down there, you know, and various other places in Gloucester. And I'll show you those video clips now.
Encontré a una niña tan bonita, ella siempre se ha parecido a Yemaya, y por la calle con su ropa azul camina, y todo el mundo está gritando, ay cómo va, ella responde, yala, 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 ella hace su Yemaya, yala, 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 yala. Mira, todo el mundo está gritando, ¡qué belleza! Y preguntan a esta niña dónde va, pero ella solo niega.
So you can see, you know, it is steady. Even now, even when I'm panning around, now I haven't got a particularly steady hand. So, you know, it was awkward for me because I don't have a steady hand, but I still had no issues with it. So, you know, anyone who does want to buy this, you won't always need a gimbal, because this has pretty much got a gimbal built into the camera body. And when used in combination with a Panasonic lens that supports that, you know, that is great. And obviously it's micro four thirds, so it will take Olympus lenses or Viltrox lenses, or, you know, Sigma lenses, you know, any other lenses that have the micro four thirds mount. So, you know, very, very, very good from that point of view. Now, as far as photographs are concerned, again, you're not going to have, you know, any issues taking photographs with this camera. It is a fabulous hybrid camera, so you don't need to take out two cameras with you. You can just take the one camera body, a couple of lenses, you probably would want to take, you know, a prime lens, an f1.8, 1.7 lens, whatever. I've got several Olympus lenses. They would work great with this camera body because it has got image stabilization in the body. You don't necessarily need it in the lens as well. So, you know, it's a great walk around camera, and that's why I really did enjoy using it. And I would definitely be using it again as my general purpose walk around video and stills camera. I know there's a lot of people will be buying the GH6 for its video features. Now, it has got a colossal amount of video features. The codecs are just colossal. You know, it's got everything. I'm not going to list them because there's far too many codecs in the camera for me to list, but it has got a colossal amount of video codecs. It's got vlog, it's got flat profiles, it's got ProRes, built-in ProRes 422. It actually records pretty much everything. It's a 422 camera with this particular camera, and it records all those video codecs to the newer, faster CF Express Type B cards. So you have to make sure you get a decent CF Express Type B card, not the cheaper ones, get a decent one. I did try a cheaper one and I had issues with that, but I've not had any issues with this Sony Tough one. Seems to work fine. So, you know, ProRes built into, records into it, and, you know, HDMI out, 422, everything. It's just a phenomenal video camera, and I know that's why a lot of people will be buying it as a video camera. It supports anamorphic. It's got, you know, loads of anamorphic modes. I was going to say dozens. I'm not sure how many there are, but there's, you know, plenty of them. But I wanted it as a hybrid camera. For me, I want to be able to do photographs and video, and I want to be able to do both, you know, really well. It's got animal detect as well as human detect, but yeah, it's great. It's great. So, I mean, image-wise, I'm not going to go into detail in these images. Now, what I would say, these sample images will be up on my Flickr page. I'll leave a link in the description below so you can find my Flickr page easily. Take a look at them there, because all the EXIF information will be there as well. So you can see what shutter speeds I use, what apertures, so on and so forth. So really well worthwhile looking at that. But we'll quickly go through them here. You know, contrast, brightness, sharpness. I mean, it's a 25 megapixel sensor in the GH6, so it's actually really good. You know, traditionally, Micro Four Thirds seem to plateau out at 20 megapixel. I say traditionally, I don't know why I say traditionally, but up until now, 20 megapixel has been the most that Micro Four Thirds has gone to. This particular camera has gone up to 25, so, you know, quite substantially more. And it does show in the images. They're crisp, their colours are great, the contrast is great, you know. Yeah, I've been delighted with the images, and I say those video clips that you saw earlier, nice and steady, the image stabilization is great. So yeah, and even if you look inside here, you know, it's fabulous. It has got, which I have played with, it has got a 100 megapixel of an 8, I think it's 80 and 100, or it might be 50 and 100 high res mode. So it's got a handheld high res mode, which I did use walking around the cathedral. I did use that mode for some of these images. Although the file size is larger, I'm not totally convinced that the detail is that much better. I mean, it is better, but generally speaking, you wouldn't need the 100 megapixel mode unless you really are specific and you need, you know, that higher resolution. Whether maybe you want to crop the image, maybe you want to print it really large. The only downside I found with that particular format was the writing time. It took about 15 seconds per image to, you know, because it's all computational photography, so it's combining many images into one image to create that, you know, that very sharp image. And I found it was a bit annoying when I was walking around the cathedral. I was waiting 15 seconds every time for it to, you know, compile that one image, because it does it all in camera. And I think that's great, because, you know, I'm not a big fan of post editing. So, you know, it's nice that it does do it in camera. And what it does, it creates two files actually. So it creates your raw file of one image and then the combined image. So if a combined image doesn't work out to your tasting, then you've still got the original raw file that the camera took. So I mean, that's great. You know, I really like that. But yeah, and again, the way it's handling the contrast is wonderful. Sharpness, the sensor is really handling everything, you know. I didn't really get a chance to test the real high ISOs. I got up to ISO 500. I think that was 500. Oh no, 1600. Oh, that's ISO 1600 on that one. And it's clean. Let's go full frame. Again, you'll see it clearer if you look at it on Flickr. These images will be on Flickr. But you can go up to 1600 ISO with this particular Micro Four Thirds camera and still get nice clean images. Now there is grain, there is a bit of noise there, but it's not obnoxious. It's not affecting the, well, it's actually really clean. You know, even in the shadows is where you'll notice it. You'll notice the noise more in shadow than you will in anywhere else. And that's clean. That really is clean. And if there is a bit of grain, it adds to the, I just think it adds to the image, it adds to the atmosphere of the image. There isn't colour grain in there, chroma, there's no chroma noise in there, you know, it's just nice. Yeah, I really like that, you know. Again here, I don't know what ISO that was. ISO 400, so you would expect it to be pretty good at ISO 400. And it is, you know, once a computer loads it. But again, you know, nice and sharp. It's beautiful. I've got no problems with it. So, you know, if you are looking at buying a hybrid camera for photography and for video, the Panasonic GH6 will do it. We'll do it lovely. Now, there is the one thing, as I said earlier in the video, which I found incredibly irritating, and I'm very surprised actually that Panasonic didn't get this bit right, really, to be honest. It's pretty much the only part of the handling that was really frustrating. And what it is to do with a PASM dial. Now on the PASM dial, you've got your aperture priority, shutter priority, whatever, you know, and you've got your video mode and your C1, 2, 3, your 4 custom settings. Now that's fine and dandy. I've set up some of the custom settings. I've got one set up to high frame rate, but it's really annoying. So if you're in aperture priority and you want to take a quick video clip, which you would find, you know, things going on. So I might have an aperture set of f4 and a shutter speed of, you know, whatever it might be. But you've got to turn this dial all the way round to get to either one of your custom settings or to get to your video setting. And that is very, very convoluted, because your video settings are not set separately. So you use the settings that you was in when you was in aperture priority or in your photo mode. So you ain't got to fiddle around with changing that, you know. I really wish they would have kept them separate. Vast majority of modern cameras have got one switch, usually a switch on the back, where you switch between stills and video. And the settings are different. Even the function buttons are different. The function buttons will do different things, whether you're in photographs, or photography, or whether you're in video. Not with a GH6. You can kind of set them up separately, and I've explained that in the other video. But overall, it was a bit of a palaver to do a quick video clip, and I found I was in the wrong aperture setting, or I was in the wrong shutter speed, or whatever. And it was just a little bit, you know, a little bit annoying. But once you get your head around it, you can change them fairly quickly. But, you know, other than that, a great handling camera. It literally is. The only thing I found annoying with the camera was constantly turning this PASM dial to get to video and to get to photographs. A quick flick of a switch on the back would have been, you know, preferable, but, you know, hey ho. But yeah, the screen was my favourite thing of handling this camera. Well, two things basically. The grip is lovely. The grip was really good. Walks around all day long with that, no problem. But the screen was wonderful, that I could do that, flip it up. I don't like the articulating screens, as I said earlier, for taking photographs with. I much prefer taking photographs with a screen like that. But as I say, it's got the best of both worlds with this camera. So yeah, great piece of kit, and it's got all, you know, microphone, headphone jack, all the video stuff that you're ever going to need, and a lot more. Full size HDMI port, you know, yeah. But and the viewfinder's lovely and sharp. I did find also, as a niggling little thing, that for my eyesight, I found that the information where it shows the f-stops, the shutter speeds, whatever, ISO settings, was just a little bit small. I struggled a couple of times to be able to read that information, but not a massive deal, and vast majority of people wouldn't have an issue with that. With the Fuji cameras, you can make that information larger, and the Olympus cameras, the information display is superb. So it's much larger and much bolder. But no, other than that, I didn't really find anything really of any issues with this particular camera in using it. So there we go. That's you know, a quick thought. It actually didn't bother me as well, the fact that it's got a built-in fan in this camera, but that is designed primarily for video users. But that didn't bother me. It was good. It was really good. So there we go. That's my thoughts on the handling of the Panasonic GH6 with this particular lens, and the video and photo quality. And so those video clips were all handheld, just wandering around, didn't set anything up. It was basically from the hip. It was just turn it on and hit the button and see what came out, you know. Yeah, so there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I do hope you found that useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button if you like the content of my videos. Really appreciate that. And particularly if you like the content of this video. And if you've got any tips on using the GH6, that would be fantastic, because I'm very new to the GH6. Although I've used the GH4 and the GH5, I'm certainly new to the GH6 and just getting my head around all the different video features and the video codecs that it has. I've not even touched on using the waveforms, the histograms, the zebra I leave turned on. The zebra setting's great. Even in photographs, I find that a very quick and an easy way to see if I'm blowing out the highlights. And fantastic for me, but I mean, I know there's many other you know, focus aids, video aids, exposure aids for photographs and videos. It's just an all-round genius camera. Just, you know, really good. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos relating to this camera, the lenses for it, various other video and audio gear. So thanks very much for watching, and see you again soon. Cheers for now. Bye.